It makes me wonder how often the 35 people who were chartering members of this church, how often they ran into difficulties in starting this church. I mean, how many times did they show up and say, it's not going like I expected, or this is harder than I expected? How often were they not in a state of satisfaction? And how often did they go to God for strength 90 years ago? Well, that's what Paul is encouraging us to do. No matter what challenging things you face, no matter how hard the day can seem sometimes, is to not look within yourself to find strength, but to go to God and say, God, I need your strength right now. I need you to flow through me because I'm not getting it done on my own. And what Paul notices that happens there is that you find contentment. You find an inner sense of satisfaction when you turn that over to God. And so he shares this with the people of the Philippians. He says, thank you for your gift. Let's talk about contentment. And then once he makes that point, he gives them a better thank you for what they really deserve for their gift. Here's where he goes in verse 14. He says, even so, you have done well to share with me in my present difficulty. And as you know, you Philippians were the only ones who gave me financial help when I first brought you the good news and then traveled on from Macedonia. No other church did this. Even when I was in Thessalonica, you sent help more than once. I don't say this because I want a gift from you. Rather, I want you to receive a reward for your kindness. And at the moment, I have all I need and more. I'm generously supplied with the gifts you sent me with Epaphroditus, who's the messenger. They are a sweet-smelling sacrifice that is acceptable and pleasing to God. And so Paul really is grateful. He's grateful for the church for the gifts that he gave, or they gave to him, and he's giving them a thank you, saying, thank you, I'm using the gifts that you have sent to me. Even though I'm sitting right here in a prison cell, I feel your graciousness and your love for me. And then he concludes this thank you note with just this most profound blessing that he gives to the people. He says this in verse 19. He says, and this same God who takes care of me will supply all your needs from his glorious riches, which have been given to us in Christ Jesus. Paul's thinking of these people who gave so freely of themselves and said, that's been my experience that God has blessed me. And he goes, I pray that that experience becomes yours as well, that you feel God working in your life, that you feel God's blessing at home in your life as well. He looks at that church and says, I hope that becomes your reality, because that was Paul's reality.